everybody? Back at it here again, wrenching on the F6A dual overhead cam turbo engine from the AZ-1. Our first order of business today is to take off this transmission and see exactly why we have that failure where the clutch won't disengage. I have a couple hunches. I hope it's nothing terrible going on in there, but let's get to it. First thing to come off is the starter. Well, I think we might have a little clue. Look at all that clutch material inside the starter. Okay, everybody, let's take a little peek inside that starter hole, see if we can see anything. Oh my goodness, look at all that clutch material. Oh, we broke it real good. Look at that. What, just big hunks of, what in the world? Yikes, I broke it bad. One tip that might seem really trite and kind of obvious is to take tons of reference pictures. It's really the best thing you can do. I did it in Project Thunderbolt. I've done it in other projects and little things I've done here and there. It is so valuable, especially if you're not sure when you're going to be bolting all this back together. The quality that you have with your smartphone is so great, and the amount of pictures you can take and the storage and everything, there's just no reason not to take a bunch of reference pictures. Oh, there's all the stuff falling out. Okay, let's take a look at the carnage here. Okay, we've got tons of clutch material just all up in the pressure plate. Geez, what did I do? And here's a big pile of it that fell out that was inside the bell housing. And here we go inside the bell housing. This stuff is just everywhere. Man, just torch this clutch. There can't be any clutch material left. Amazing. Oh boy, look at this thing. It just like gave up. Self-destruct mode. Look at this. Oh my goodness, it's just like, I guess those high RPMs, I don't know, got to it after a while. But this thing is just blowed up. Look at, I mean, just blown apart. Well, I can't say I've ever done this before. This is definitely a first. Blown a clutch into chunks like this. I've smoked them pretty good, but never just like into a gazillion pieces like this before. Jeez. While we have everything apart, it's a perfect time to do some cleaning. First up is that grungy transmission. Let's take a look at it. All right, here's our first job. There's obviously some nice clean aluminum under there, especially inside here where we just trashed the inside of this thing with all that clutch debris and dust and everything. So that's our first order of business, and what I always like to use is mineral spirits. You can use it a variety of different ways. I just put it in an old spray jug here, spray it on, brush it off, wipe it off. It air dries nicely. Okay, so to get in all those hard to reach areas, I've chosen only the finest toothbrush, Dr. Fresh. Okay, we've got the transmission looking great, but boy, what a messy ordeal this is. Look at all this. Oh, clutch chunks and just clutch dust and grease and oil. It is a terrible mess, and we're just getting started, honestly. Now my plan isn't to like super detail this engine. It is nice and convenient since we have it out, so we might as well clean it up a little bit. I'm definitely going to do some of the maintenance items that need to be done, like spark plugs. I'll take a look at the cap and rotor buried under here, wherever that thing is. There it is. I'll take a look at the wires, I'll test those. Just a variety of little things. Might take a look at this downpipe to see if we can improve that, although it's really a snug fit in here up against this mount piece, this transmission mount. So I'm not sure how much we could even do there, but we'll take a look. Whoa. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So there's where the spark plugs live, way down in there. So that's one job we need to do, and we also just need to clean this up a good bit. Okay, let's talk for a minute about engine swaps. Now, I've seen all of your comments over the months of me owning this car. You know, put this engine in it, put that engine in it. And of course, you know, I love all that stuff, and I'm with you 100%. I'm all about swapping different engines and everything. But, you know, right after I got the AZ-1, of course, the research started immediately. And this would look like the perfect opportunity to consider some sort of engine swap. And believe me, I've considered them all. I have looked at motorcycle engines, I've looked at, you know, rotaries, small 4-cylinders, 3-cylinders, electric. I mean, I've thought of everything. I promise you I have. I've spent so many hours at night laying awake thinking what kind of cool engines would suit this car. The fact is, you would have to re-engineer this car to do any sort of engine swap. Let me explain. So the AZ-1's engine bay presents two major challenges. It is very narrow from frame rail to frame rail. That's the first challenge. And you can see that when we have the engine and transmission out, how compact that whole setup is. The second challenge is from the axle center line to the firewall, where the little access panel there is, that is extremely tight there too. Kind of a double whammy if you're trying to consider any engine swaps. So really, to do any sort of different engine combination, you would have to do something different with the back end of this car. Like behind the driver's seat, you would have to box this in, open it up, cut that out, and you know, increase the size there. So what I'm saying in short is I've considered so many drivetrain swap options for this car. The priority would be on still keeping it a drivable car and not modifying the body of the car. I don't want to cut apart the back end and widen it or do anything crazy. I want to do something within the confines of the vehicle as it was designed. And there simply isn't anything I could find. I mean, I've looked. Like I said, I've talked to the folks at Quaife, looked at all their different gearboxes. I've looked at so many different motorcycle engine combinations. The Hayabusa was my top choice, but there was a V4 that I really liked, a really high revving 200 horsepower V4. I looked at so many darn options, it could make your head spin. But the fact is, there's that limiting factor of the axle center line and the firewall. and there's just no way around it unless you cut apart the car and sort of re-engineer the whole back half of the car, and I'm definitely not going to do that. So sorry dudes, I hate to tell you this bad news. Even as I considered so many different engine swap possibilities, I just kept coming back to how cool this engine is here and how well it suits the car. It really is just made for it. So since there's nothing wrong with it, this engine's in excellent shape, we're just gonna clean it up, tune it up, slam it back in there and enjoy it as it was meant to be. Not the exciting answer that all of YouTube would love, I'm sure, but what the heck.
Okay, to make myself feel better after that somewhat sad revelation, I decided to pop the distributor cap off here. And as you can see, there's lots of corrosion and buildup on these contact points, and they look kind of eaten away, so I think we'll need to get a new one of these. So I'm going to have to scour the earth looking for these parts, and that's definitely going to take a little time, because the parts list keeps on growing. But one thing I do have are these spark plugs. Now I've had these since I first picked up the car, I just haven't been brave enough to install them, since you have to be like double jointed to get the spark plugs in there with the engine and the car, so now's a perfect opportunity to do so. I had read online that these were the stock replacement plugs, and I was thrilled to see that that's what the engine already had in them. And they looked pretty good, but while we're in there we'll put a fresh set in. Alright folks, well that's it for this update. Now I have to go on the hunt looking for all these clutch parts, engine maintenance parts, and I might have a few other surprises. Here's a little sneak preview of that. So thank you for watching, and please hit me up on the social media. I'd love to hear from you on there. And with that said, thanks again folks. We'll see you next time.